Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Marcus DeAngelo of adfreeshows.com. I'm joined by my slapdick, unprepared brother, Dominic of WrestleZone.com and Podcast Heat and Ad Free Shows. And we are two Dynamite Dudes on a Rampage. Dom, what's going on? You got some lag.
Got some tech issues happening. I'm going to exit out and then hop back in. So, Marcus, you're just going to vamp it up here. But yeah, we're live. Join on in, get some questions in, everything like that. I'll be right back. All right.
Boy, oh boy, we got plenty to talk about without your dumbass in here slowing us down. So we're just gonna go ahead and get rolling on it. Steven Chambers, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the party. John Howard, welcome back, my friend. And guys, we got a lot to talk about this week. Holy cats. Yeah, John is commenting on Dom's stash. Very Dax Harwood of Dominic with that stash. And by the way, that is one of the topics. Look at this weird. Is everybody getting this weird like bar in the middle of my face? It's pretty strange. Jason Campbell, what's up, buddy? But in any case, I had a great transition. I fucked it up because of this bar distracting me. But Dax and Cash, guys, I think that's probably the best place to start because it did open the show, but also because that's one of the best matches I have seen on AEW Dynamite. I'm curious as to what you guys think about it, but I mean, let's just start with the gear, for crying out loud. That throwback Bret Hart gear, or Hart Foundation gear, it was incredible, and it was spot on to their old school jackets where it's got their name and the skull and like the triangle on the back of it. So that was like such a cool call out. And by the way, those guys and their gear is just some next level shit. They did the NWO gear. They did like the Midnight Express gear, like Bobby Eaton kind of stuff. It was just really awesome tribute. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but in my head, I was like, I think that Bret Hart might come out at the end of this match because it felt like a special match. They certainly built it up to be something really special, right? Where you've got these two tag partners who happen to be two of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and they're facing each other for the first time. So it was, I don't know about you guys, but to me, I was like, I think Bret Hart might come out at the end of this match. Like maybe they'd be shoving each other or something. And then Bret Hart comes out to break it up and tell them that they're the two best in the world. And they need to work together and they need to work together with him. I mean, to me, that was where it was going, but it didn't. But really, it didn't detract from the match. Steven Chambers, he agrees. It was a good match and he dug the gear. But yeah, just, two performers that know each other so unbelievably well in the ring. I mean, it doesn't get much better than those two. As tag team wrestlers, they have taken it to a completely different level, and they're doing it without having to do all those crazy high spots. They're doing it while being able to tell a story. I heard Conrad Thompson say on one of the podcasts that like if you could take Arn and Tully and get them into like a quantum leap situation and leap them into the future, it's probably these guys. Like this is what Arn and Tully would be in these days. John is asking who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, tag team partners, FTR. They had a match on Dynamite. They opened it up. It was for the Owen Hart tournament. And I mean, yeah, just unbelievable work. It really was like watching Arn and Tully in a wrestling match. Except these guys can do some of the crazy stuff. And by the way, I'm not sure if you guys saw it, but somebody online posted, and I'm going to track it down and post it on my personal Twitter. So give me a follow at Marcus P. DeAngelo if you want to see that, because I will find it. But it was like image and image, or rather video and video side by side of FTR and some of the people that they really love in pro wrestling. And they were doing all the same stuff. Nesha, what's up, girl? They were doing some of the same stuff. So it was like they took something from Owen and Bret Hart, and they took something from Razor Ramon versus Bret Hart. And they were just like kind of doing these awesome little callbacks to some of these classic matches from the new generation era, which by the way, they're my age. So they grew up in the new generation era and they love those guys. They love Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, which is why they were doing that FTR NWO gear gimmick lookalike. They love Bret Hart, which again, that gear was just fucking fire. So it's getting to see these guys work. It was such a rare occasion. And honestly, I'm trying to think if we'll ever see it again. Probably not. because those two are very much married as tag team partners. I don't think that they're interested in having singles careers like most people are. It's nowadays in modern wrestling, it seems like what happens is, the creative people, yeah, Nesha, I made it, thankfully. And Dominic, or rather Nesha, I don't know if you were in here for this, but Dom was having some tech issues, so he had to reboot his computer, but he's jumping right back on here in a minute. So in the meantime, I'm just rambling. But so nowadays it seems like tag teams are formed of people that, like, creative services don't know what to do with in pro wrestling, right? Where it's like you've got a guy like Matt Riddle, for example. Like, oh man, this guy's got great potential. Well, let's put him with Randy Orton. Randy Orton will give him the rub, and he can learn through Randy, and then hopefully one day this will help build him into a future superstar. And it's anytime they match a tag team nowadays, it seems like there's that kind of implied, okay, who's going to wind up being the big star? Oh, who's going to get over as a result of this so that they can get out of doing tag team stuff? I don't think that that's an interest for Dax or Cash. So it's really interesting to have the opportunity to see those guys work for probably what will be the first and last time. Nesha saying, "Fire Dom, I'm in. Let's get him off the damn podcast." He had a terrible mustache. Not sure if you saw that, Nesha. It was hideous. So frankly, I hope that right now he's shaving while his computer reboots. It would just be doing all of us a favor. But no, I'm curious as to what everybody thought about that match. So please drop your comments in, and let's get a little discussion going back and forth on it, because I mean, to me, match of the night easily. And again, just one of those like once in a lifetime, very, very rare opportunities. So here's the other match that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know, I haven't made any bones about the style of wrestling that I like, right? It's kind of like it's rooted in old school. It's got some kind of fun new school vibes to it, but for the most part, I really like the old school way of wrestling and telling a story in the ring. And nowadays, there's a handful of people who are really masters at it. Certainly, both members of FTR are masters of that style, but who's really, really, really unbelievably good at it is Serena Deeb. And we got to see it on Wednesday. John, you're talking about the Briscoes. They work so good together as well. They do. And let me tell you, the Briscoes versus FTR in Dallas. I happen to be in Dallas. I was unable to attend because I was working somewhere else. But man, you go back and watch some of that stuff. Just absolute pure fire. And that's just saying this is weird. We just get Marcus. Never have I missed Dom's company, but I feel like I could use the hot tag. But no, I think everything's going fine. Let's talk Serena Deeb, gang. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments that you guys want to make about any specific matches to help me make segues, by all means, drop in. But no, so Serena Deeb, Hikaru Shida. I'm curious as to what everybody thought about that match, because initially as I'm watching it, I was like, I don't think I like these two style. I've seen them work before, and the bar has always been Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. Those two really set the bar high with some of their matches. Actually, let me jump out of this real quick and acknowledge what Steven's saying. Prayers to the Briscoes, family emergency. I did see that they had to pull out of a spot. So all the best blessings to them. Really hope everything's okay. Last I heard, wife and baby are both in stable, perfectly, rather good condition. So let's hope that it remains that way. But prayers up. But anyways, on paper, those two are not. It's like second best to Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, right? Where Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, they had such good chemistry, and every time they stepped into the ring together, it was just pure magic watching those two. So, the Hikaru Shida feud comes along, and I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it was okay, it was fine, But this whole Philly street fight thing that they tried this time around, holy shit, it worked. It really worked. Especially because these are not two women who are known for like their outside the ring rumbling prowess, right? I mean, it's certainly not Serena Deeb. She's as old school classic wrestler as it gets. So to get to see those two in that kind of a conflict, I think it raised the stakes. It made it really interesting. And let me tell you, Serena Deeb with that giant shiner at the end of it, because I think she got cranked in the face by the by a kendo stick. It's like, man, that was just a nasty blow. But I mean, she was like kind of grinning at the end, and she had this giant black eye, and I mean, you could see it was really, really raised. She must have really got drilled with that kendo stick. But I mean, it's such a great match. I did not expect Serena Deeb to go over. I really didn't. I thought that, in my head, I was like, oh, okay, Hikaru Shida, she's kind of like been on and off, and she was champ, and I was like, yeah, this is probably the time that Deeb finally loses. Which, by the way, I would not have agreed with. I think that Serena Deeb is one of those rare talents that like you've got to kind of push her to the moon and make her losses very, very few and far in between. But so it was a very happy surprise for me to see that Serena Deeb went over in the match. And it's very clear, as Steven said here. I don't know how Dominic highlights people's comments. I wish I could, but I think you have to be the host on this thing to do it anyways. But in any case, as Steven said, Deeb versus Rosa going to be a great match. Looks like Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Man, let me tell you, I love it. And when I saw Thunder Rosa watching the TV after that segment, like, okay, all right. I was like, holy shit, these two, they're going to do it again. So I believe it was more than a year ago. It was definitely more than a year ago that Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb had their really phenomenal matches for the NWA Women's title. So yeah, I'm really, really psyched to see what those two are going to do. John Howard saying it's better than Flair and Ronda. For my you can make an argument one way or the other. I can see the perspective of, okay, Flair and Ronda was better because of what a spectacle it was and all the build to it and the stage it was on, right? I think that you can make that argument where it's like, how many people did it draw? Dom and his mustache are back. I was telling people I was hoping you would shave it while your computer was rebooting.
How's it looking? Am I laggy at all?
With all the red, it's very Super Mario Brothers.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah, no, I think you're fine. It seems like there might be a slight lag, but it's nothing we can't get over.
Yeah, there's a slight lag, but whatever.
But in any case, what I was saying was, I think that you could certainly make the argument that Flair versus Ronda was a better match than Serena and Thunder Rosa, just due to the spectacle of it, right? Where it's like it's on the biggest stage in pro wrestling. There's all this hype that's behind it. So you could certainly make the argument. However, from a technical standpoint, it's not even fucking close, right? To me, it's Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa have set the bar. And
are you just saying from Backlash, what's coming up with Backlash here, Flair and Ronda?
No, I believe he was referencing WrestleMania.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, John Howard said better than Flair versus Ronda.
And yeah. You know why?
Hey Dom, I was right in the middle of making a fucking point there, bub.
Hey, you
come in here and fucking drop in with your fucking mustache, and you just think you can take it over. No, go ahead, dude.
No, I think yeah, honestly, that Flair Ronda match did not really translate over well for me. Like, I thought it was an okay match and it was good, but like, Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch tore it down at WrestleMania. So like, and you guys are talking about Sheeta and Serena Deeb, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for paying attention.
I'm sorry. But no, yeah. The transition was it was a good match. It was better than we expected. At least that's what I'm saying. Better than I expected. And I think it was because they added the stipulation of the street fight, where this is one of those rare instances where that actually helped the match as opposed to hindering it. And that giant shiner that Serena had on her face at the end of it was just a wild scene. But really, where I was going with the entire thing was Serena Deeb, or rather Thunder Rosa, looking at the TV screen at Serena Deeb, like, okay. And somebody up here, I believe it was Steven Chambers, made the point, like, probably Double or Nothing. And it's like, that's where that match belongs.
Totally, man. Totally. You'd line that up too. You have those two go at it. You have Punk and Hangman Page go at it. You're setting, and who knows what else you got planned up going for it. Like the finals of the Owen Hart Cup, that takes place at Double or Nothing. So, I mean, you got some good stuff cooking. And so, Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, they have a history like from, when Thunder Rosa was the NWA champion. So, it's cool stuff. I think this is going to be a good payoff, and they can really build to a good feud with these two. I get more airtime for both Deeb and for Thunder Rosa. I would make it like really put the highlights on them, for sure.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. What else? What'd you kick off the show with here, Mark?
Well, we kicked it off with Dax and Cash. I was talking about how their gear game is just next level. They had the Scott Hall NWO gear the one time. They had Bret Hart. They had like Bobby Eaton gear. So I mean, like just right out of the gate when they come out with that gear, it's like this is awesome. And then the match itself was just pure fire. Go ahead and comment, Dominic, because I rambled on it for a while.
Oh, good. Did you talk about how they had another side by side? They went like Bret versus Owen. They patterned a lot of the match off of that.
That was what I said. And they also Razor Ramon and Bret.
Yep. Some really cool stuff happening there. It was neat. No, it was a great opener to the show. Honestly, I thought they could have main evented with that one.
Yeah, it could. Honestly, when I heard that match was booked, I was like, oh, okay, so that should be the main event. Probably will be, but didn't quite turn out that way. Dom Nesh is calling for your fucking head. Jason Campbell, Dom being disrespectful to Bianca.
No,
Becky Lynch. Dom.
How?
Keep their names out your mouth.
I said that's the best match at WrestleMania. Was that match? Like,
right,
hands down. I thought, from an in-ring standpoint and everything, I thought that was a great. Yeah, that was the best match of Mania the whole weekend. Honestly, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch.
Ooh, I don't know. Cody Rhodes coming out that weekend was just something else.
I mean, that was big. That felt big time. I think you combine the match, like that Becky match and Bianca match with Cody coming out, Austin main event. It was like one of the best. I know we're getting sidetracked, but it was one of the best Manias, I think, in years.
Right.
Night one. But no, man. No, it was a great opener. I'm really excited. Like this Memorial Cup for Owen Hart is shaping up pretty darn good. Look at who we got in here. We got Samoa Joe. We got Adam Cole. We got Kyle O'Reilly. We have now we just have Darby Allin, who was just added into it. Now do you see what matches next week, Wednesday, Mark?
No. What do we got next?
We got Bobby Fish versus Jeff Hardy in a qualifying match.
Wow.
Yes. So if they're getting some good competitors in there, did you watch Rampage at all, or did you not get a chance to?
No, I did not catch any Rampage, so maybe you can catch me up on it a little bit.
Yeah, I tell you what, Swerve Strickland and Darby Allin in the qualifying match for Rampage. Holy shit, that was great. I can't say enough about Swerve Strickland and like his presence he has in the ring, the facials that he has, and then just the body language and his ability and the smoothness that he goes, and his ability to sell. Darby's such a great seller too, but I think Swerve really showcased himself in this match, and they're furthering the feud with Ricky Starks and him and Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs. So like Darby got the win, so Darby qualified for the tournament. But like Swerve really put on a show. So I think Rampage is getting to be Swerve's house. So I think it's definitely one to go back and watch because they did some very cool, very hard hitting shit, and you can tell these guys worked together before.
Yeah, Swerve is, I think that kind of pretty unlimited potential. He adds a lot to the program, so it's going to be exciting to see what he has to offer. And that's just saying she loves Swerve on WWE. So excited he's on AEW now, which Dominic brings me to a little transition. There were some people released from WWE.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I forgot to even write that down. But yeah, you're right.
Right. And most notably, at least in my mind, I mean, they're all notable. These are all people who were good enough to be considered, for NW or WWE. So that means that they're skilled. But really, in my mind, one of the most notable is Parker Boudreaux. After all that hype that he got, he was known as Harlan, by the way, in NXT, which sucked. You've got this guy with this incredible look, right?
You put him in a jumpsuit.
You put him in a jumpsuit and you shave his head. He had that great hair. He had like Brian Bosworth type shit going on. And then they're like, hey, that's awesome hair. Shave all of it off. Which is just ridiculous. So this guy had this unbelievable, impossible to gain look. And they're just like, let's fuck it up and then fire him after a couple months. But so, I mean, he's on the free agent market. And let me say, dude, I've been banging the drum like, hey, there's not enough time. Hey, stop bringing people in.
We say it to everybody.
Right? Right, but let me tell you, Parker, that dude in that look, if you can grow that fucking hair back, man, that dude is a beast.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I wrote about it today on WrestleZone. That Court Bauer said that Parker would show up. He was a University of Central Florida. Marcus, we have a side story about University of Central Florida, don't we? Where he would show up with some of his linemen, like in the for MLW shows. And Court Bauer says he's got potential to be one big player if he stays with it and keeps with it. You know, so I mean, like you look at what MLW's done for like EJ Naduka, who was released by WWE as Ezra Judge. He was released, and now he's tag team champion, one of the top stars in Major League Wrestling. So I mean, somebody to scoop up somebody like Parker Boudreaux, holy shit! I mean, you're positioning yourself. He's got the look, he's got a presence. You can already tell. So I mean, if those all line up, you can really build around him and highlight who he is and what he looks like. I very head scratching in a lot of ways. Some of these releases, like Dakota Kai, like why wouldn't you call her up? Like if you're trying to build your women's division, because she's been there forever and she's clearly shown that she has the ability in the ring and some personality too, and everything like that. So it's just so strange. Like I wonder what their thought process is with a lot of these guys. Like even Malcolm Bivens got released. Great manager, great personality, kind of that vibe to him, where he was gonna go with Diamond Mind here. And it's just so strange because you can really utilize a lot of these. Like, you need a new influx of talent for some of your roster in WWE, and here you're just letting them go. So again, with AEW, it's very tough right now because we're already talking about like how they need to fit people in and make people, highlight who they really hone in on certain stars. I almost want to do, I was thinking about this morning, Marcus. One of these weeks, I want to do a thing where we do, where we kind of showcase who we would put in certain spots in the roster, like, and like hone in on a select few talent. Kind of what I'm talking about. Like we build our own blueprint in a way. I want to do that one of these weeks, but dude. I want to see a lot of these guys and gals go somewhere and do something. Just hard to do right now with AEW and WWE together. It's a lot of talent out there. It's like it's a bittersweet kind of thing happening right now, right?
Oh, for sure. It's as you were kind of talking there. One of the things that really jumped out in my mind, and actually, Stephen Chambers is talking about people going to ROH or Impact as opposed to AEW. Really, like if I was going to go out and get Parker Boudreaux, he's going to ROH in my head, just because you can help build that brand. And you can also position him around a lot of people who are more experienced, but also still very young in the business, right? So people who have more experience, but who can relate to him and who can kind of school him along. So yeah, dude, it's the way to go.
Name cachet too. Name cachet. If you think about like, hey, Ring of Honor, like what does that stand for in a lot of the things? You think of Bryan Danielson, think of Samoa Joe, you think of CM Punk, think of Christopher Daniels, Jerry Lynn, like the list goes on.
And dude, like I can't emphasize this enough. Back in like 1985, 1986, the Brian Bosworth out of the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, he was a mainstream huge celebrity because of like his look, his attitude, and it's like Parker Boudreaux is like a mulligan on the Boz. Like, hey, what if the Boz didn't go to the NFL and he went into the wrestling? Which, by the way, if he would have gone into wrestling, he would have been the biggest star in wrestling in 1986. Probably.
Could you imagine the transit, like him going up against a Hogan or something like that?
Because he'd have to be a heel.
Yeah.
So yeah, him against Hogan. I mean, like he would have been a monster celebrity. And now it's like, hey, this Parker Boudreaux didn't quite have all the name cachet that Boz did going in, but he's got that he's got the same sort of look. It's like, man, we could legit get a mulligan on the Boz here. All these 35 years later. So really, really hope they pull the trigger on it.
Mark, I think that's an even better comparison too. Even like people, just by looking at Parker Boudreaux, you look at him and it's like, geez, Brock Lesnar 2.0. But like, I think Boz is almost even a better comparison. Right?
100%. Yeah, because if you think about it, Brock Lesnar was this freak athlete, this once in a lifetime, just like he was a freak. He was a guy who was Parker Boudreaux's size, who can move like a cat. Now, I'm not saying that Parker Boudreaux can't do that, but can he do it as well as Brock Lesnar was doing it? And back in like 2002, nope. I think that really more accurately, you've got to talk about somebody like Brian Bosworth, somebody who made the transition from football into pro wrestling and did it pretty successfully. Well,
Oh
it
yeah,
would have done it successfully rather.
yeah, for sure. And like heck, the full circle Marcus, he showed up at some AEW shows, like when they're in Oklahoma. So the Boz did.
Ah, man, would have loved to have seen the Boz back in the day, dude, with that look. God almighty, he'd have been a monster star. But he went into acting after his football career fizzled out.
Yeah. Oh man, I think he'd still be a personality on wrestling, you know.
I think it'd be fun to bring him in as like a part-time announcer or something, backstage
Or
interviewer.
fucking have him manage somebody like a Parker Boudreaux or somebody.
How
like
could you imagine that? That would be wild.
Or like,
That would be
and
wild.
like, just have him fucking like almost like Dr. Death Steve Williams. You know how he had that fucking like Oklahoma Sooner vibe. I mean, Jr. would eat that shit up.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that is
Mhm.
that is JR's wheelhouse.
Right, man. Um, somebody else, Dexter Loomis, former Sam Shaw. Well, now Sam Shaw again, but like what a look, and he really provided some really good entertainment from a WWE aspect. How they position entertainment and everything like that. He embraced that wholeheartedly and like just gave this like psychotic, very very good vibe to himself. Yeah, so I was kind of bummed to see him let go, but I'm optimistic for him too because I think the thing with Impact is Impact has a blessing of talent too, where it's just like utilize these guys, make the most of them. And you know, Sam Shaw is obviously has his ties with Impact, so I could see him going back there. But yeah, that's another talent that I was bummed to see a name get gone. You know, so yeah, it's a bummer, man. Like it's just frustrating because you know we grew up in a time where stars were highlighted when they were good, you know, and you know they would their prime wrestling years were taken advantage of and made the most of. Nowadays, you don't get that benefit, you know, of hey, this guy's been around, this gal's been around, they've worked, they've shown that they have the capability to do something. There's just a certain aspect of it where it's just so much untapped talent that goes filters through WWE and to an extent even AEW, where it's like the certain people don't get a spotlight, and then you don't get to see more of them and things like that. You know, like Cody in a lot of roundabout way with not just AEW but WWE starting off too. Like when Cody left, we thought about, geez, like look at all the matches that we didn't get to see Cody perform in with AEW. You know, all the feuds.
Right.
It's you know, it just really speaks to the amount of talent that's in the business and the great amount of options that there are. But it really speaks to how, you know, flawed the wrestling some of the mainstream wrestling system is, where it's like we don't get the chance to enjoy these stars, become stars, or go on a journey with them. So it's kind of it's frustrating in a lot of ways, but you know there are definitely some good aspects like that you can still sink your teeth into, and kind of where I'm going, I guess, with this is Scorpio Sky and the main event. I was very, very happy Scorpio Sky got the title back. You know, I was speaking, I think it was to you, about how they need to get the belt, a tag team belt on him quickly to like, if they're removing the belt from him this quick, they got to get something back on him and keep him hot. I think this was even better, Marcus, because you know what? At the end of that match, if you took a look, when he shook Kaz's hand, Frankie Kazarian came out, he shook Kaz's hand to uphold a promise. He's like, hey, if I win this, I'm going to give him a shot. Look at Ethan Page's face and look at Dan Lambert's face. They're setting up turn on Scorpio Sky. And I think that's going to be great because you're setting up Ethan Page versus Scorpio Sky, two very good talents, with Dan Lambert back in the heel position role after he took a bit of a hiatus from that. So something that I really liked. I don't care that they played a little bit of hot potato with the TNT title in this regard, because it did tell a story in a certain ways, and you saw characters go different routes. So I'm all right with it, and I think as long as they have Scorpio go on this run here for a while, I think the TNT title is still in good shape and still can very, very much mean a lot in the wrestling landscape.
I thought it sucked.
Really?
Yep. I mean, the match itself was good, but like, I hate that they're flip flopping that title so much. It's honestly making it worthless. It really is. It's very much the same vibes as the Intercontinental title. You know, when Cody first had it, and then it was like Cody, and then it was Brody Lee. It was like, man, this title, Miro.
Darby.
I was like, man,
Darby?
yeah. It's like, man, this title means something. You know, this is a title that, you know, the holder, you know, has earned it, and he gets a little run with it, and you know, it takes a while, but to me, it's like it feels like Tony Khan is like, okay, I want the world title to be really protected, but I still want to have fun, you know. And so he's like having his fun with the TNT title. I hate it, and I hate what they're doing. And you say, oh well, I love the fact they put it on Scorpio Sky, and I don't necessarily agree with that. What I disagree with is, or I don't necessarily disagree with that. What I disagree with is that they took it off him in the first place. What's the point if you're just going to put it back on him? What did it do for anybody?
I can agree with that.
What did it do for either person? Nothing.
No.
So I think really what this has to do is that the crowd is kind of turning Sammy into a heel, and Scorpio into a baby face. So like, oh, we should probably put the title back on him. It's like, I don't know. I think there needs to be they need to do a better job of telling a story.
And and like I agree that it's you know, having Sammy win it in the first place from Scorpio Sky didn't really do a whole lot. Like it didn't. I mean, maybe got Sammy some heel heat, but he was already getting that anyways. So you didn't necessarily need to do that. You know, I think maybe what could have happened is they realized they did make a mistake by putting the title back on Sammy and like trying to ride with it again. But and again, maybe that's the thing with maybe what they wanted to do is like, hey, so Cody was our 3-time TNT champion, but now he's not here anymore. So we need another 3-time champion to kind of overshadow that in a way. Maybe that was it. I have no idea, but I don't know. Like, yes, I agree. There's a better way to tell a story. I think they're on the right track though. Again, as long as, but Marcus, if he loses this in like 2 months or less, it's not good. And you can even add a little bit. You can add another month on there at least too.
It's not good now. It's not good now what they're doing. You know, it's very like, it's like Razor Ramon Dean Douglas in like '95 with like this belt where it's just like he's got it, he lost it. It's they're bastardizing the belt. They're making the belt not mean anything, and I think that that's a big problem. I think that all your belts should be like something that people strive for. You know, like that WWE 24/7 belt. You know, it's like getting exchanged at weddings, and like it doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing.
So why do these people? Why are we investing in storylines that involve it if it doesn't mean anything? Right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be this prize that people want to attain, and it's supposed to mean like you make more money. Oh, you're closer to the main event on the card as opposed to being like a curtain jerker. It's supposed to mean all these things, but like when you keep flip flopping belts, it makes them literally worthless.
Yeah. No, there's certainly I'm like with you on that. I think I think that it's not damaged goods. I think you can still make that title mean a lot. Just keep it on Scorpio for a good amount of time. Heck, run it through Double or Nothing. You know, that's a month. So yeah, definitely do that. Sorry. Speaking of Luigi.
Oh my God, Dominic.
That's what
ridiculous.
I'm really embracing this. Am I not?
Ridiculous. Nesh is saying, "Hey, I like 24/7 Hush." I'm not gonna take away the fact that those segments are fun. Like it's entertaining, but like at the same time, it's like you could still do the same thing without having this fucking belt that's worthless now. You know, you could still have the same fun in another way. But it's hate that bullshit. Hate
Marcus,
that you make something like that worthless. If somebody tried to give me the 24/7 belt, I'd be like, I don't know, can I even sell this? Is it worth it?
Do I want? Is that going to hurt my credibility if I win this thing?
Yeah.
Mark's Stephen Chambers brings up a great point too that I want to touch upon. Sammy taking way too many risks, injuring his neck and left shoulder doing the 630 top of the ladder. Mark, I mean,
you could see Tay Conti being terrified on the outside of the ring.
Yeah. I was speaking to a talent about some of this, and like, if it happens to, if a lot of these newer guys and gals wrestled the schedule that, you know, was wrestled in the 2000s before and before, they wouldn't be
Be
wrestling like
retired.
this.
They'd be retired already.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be wrestling like the way they are right now. Like,
Hmm.
it's, I mean, I know you can kind of make those highlights, but people do not care about that stuff. Brian James, the Road Dog, on his new podcast. Oh, you didn't know? I helped with that podcast. But he said wrestling doesn't make a dime, doesn't draw a dime. What draws a dime is you, the people, like the star. Okay, so doing these risks are so unnecessary, and it's just like you don't want to see guys do that. Sammy's great. Like, he's a great heel. He's a great personality. He's like sharp tongued, all that stuff. He doesn't need to do that stuff to that often. Pull it out once a pay per view if you want, but just make it mean something, because it does. The more you do it, and Marcus, that finish, I loved the spot where he did the back bump onto the barbed wire and was down, but then he got right back up, and it just like, why didn't the match just end there? It should have just ended there.
Yep.
Um,
They're doing too much. And by the way, here's the difference too, is when Mick Foley got thrown off top of the cell, when Bam Bam Bigelow's like flinging Spike into the crowd, like all these big spots that are just like, holy shit, when we first saw them back in the day, these things we'd never seen before. Now we've seen them a bunch. Now we see them all the time. We've seen Shane McMahon take some scarier bumps than Mick Foley took. So it doesn't mean anything anymore. So like, what that means is that nobody's going to be 10 years down the road. Nobody's going to be like, hey, remember when Sammy Guevara took that or did that spot? I forgot about it this week, Dom. I wasn't thinking about it at all. When Mick Foley was thrown off Hell in a Cell, it was all anybody talked about all
it's
week
still
long.
what people talk about.
It's still what people talk about. It's probably the thing most associated with his Hall of Fame career. Nobody's gonna remember that Sammy Guevara took this risk, and he could have badly hurt himself, ended his career right then and there. So yeah, the wrestling is different, and so these guys doing these spots that would have gotten over huge in the 1990s, they don't anymore. You got to borderline set yourself on fire in the ring to get that kind of attention nowadays. So don't do it. It's not worth it. It's a stupid, pointless risk. And you're like, would they cut their career short as fast as they would have in the 90s? No, because in the 90s, these guys were working, I've heard stories about guys working 90 straight days in a row, Monday through Friday, for 90 straight days, and then getting to go home for 3 days, and then you go out and do it some more. So no, if you were taking spots, it's taking bumps like that in the 90s, no, Sammy Guevara's career would be over by now. So would Darby Allin.
You just couldn't do it. You couldn't wrestle that tight.
Right. But now they're just spreading it out. It's going to end their careers eventually. It's just going to take a little more time.
And obviously, and like in a lot of regards, the wrestling business is better off now when you consider, like, okay, drugs aren't as prevalent. There's not issues like, anything as intense as it was back, when we grew up watching it or beforehand. So it's like there's some positives to it, but like this is something that's a little different, where it's just like, okay, you're taking these risks. The body just can't take that. You're
gonna wind up like Dynamite Kid, which is I mean, if you look at any videos of him in his later years, I mean, like, that would be enough to scare me off of taking these crazy risks.
Steven adds, why Sting taking risks also? Now, I think from Sting's perspective, they're going to be very safe about Sting, and Sting's going to be pretty darn safe about what he does too. So any of those spots that he decides to take, I think it's going to be well taken care of and everything like that. So, I'm not as concerned about that one. That one's kind of fun. Well, because that they're doing all they can to make sure Sting is safe in those spots and everything like that. So a lot of, I think there's just a good amount of smoke and mirrors going on with people that are certain to take care of Sting.
Let me say to Steven's point, it's awesome, but it's awesome once every 3 months. So now Sting is doing this pretty regularly, isn't he? where it's like he's jumping off shit. And it's cool, but at the same time, it's like it's after a while. It's like saying, "Hey, I love cake. I'm gonna eat it for dinner every single night. For like a week, it might be awesome. After a week, it's gonna start to suck."
But and to push back at that too, Marcus, it's not like Sting wrestles every week or every 2 weeks even. He's like wrestling once a month, once every month and a half. So when you do pull those out, it's like kind of part of a Sting match in AEW right now is doing that. So I don't think it's like you are eating cake. Like every time you get a Sting match, but it's cake, spread out pretty decently.
It's cake. It's cake often enough that it would make you sick.
I don't know about that. I mean, anytime Sting does that stuff, I'm just not like. I
don't think that we need to have the expectation, which by the way is a thing now. Now there's the expectation. Oh, Sting's having a match. I bet he's going to jump off something. And they shouldn't have planted that in people's heads. Because to me, Dom, what's special about it is that we didn't see it coming.
Sure. So here's my defense. Again, my defense in that regard is that I don't necessarily go into that thinking that Sting's going to do that stuff. I think we've also been taught in AEW that Sting almost has like a Hulk Hogan like resiliency or endurance, where all of a sudden, like if he gets hit or something happens, he pops back up out of nowhere,
pounding his chest,
and boom, you get a Scorpion Death Drop, you get a Scorpion Death Lock. I think they've kind of, for lack of a better phrase, trained us to look that way at Sting right now. So I don't think. I'm not going in there going, okay, Sting's gonna dive off like the fucking, rafters, like onto somebody. I'm thinking, okay, Sting's gonna do something like cool that we're gonna pop for, that I'm gonna be excited to see, because Sting is still going and he's 62, and like you can't tell that he's 62 in certain ways. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to more. I'm not, and those are not my expectations, are not instilled where, oh, he's going to leap off something in every match. I don't buy that.
Look, if we're going to get Sting, and if we're going to get Sting taking a risk, here's the risk I want. I want Sting to start wrestling singles matches, as opposed to jumping off of shit. I would much rather see him climb into the ring with somebody like Dax from FTR or CM Punk or Daniel Bryan in a singles match where he's going to take some bumps but not jump off anything, go through a fucking table or set himself on fire, thumbtacks or whatever bullshit they've got in mind. I would much rather see him just have a straight up match with CM Punk or Daniel Bryan or Dax from FTR, or name any one of the awesome talent.
Nesha just doesn't want Sting wrestling. She gets scared when Sting wrestles, she says.
I get it. And by the way, after his neck injury in WWE, it's a legitimate reason to worry. However, I'm much more nervous about Sting fucking jumping off things than I would be about him taking a flat back bump. So
I can understand that. And I think that's a fair point too. I mean, if you mixed it up too, where like every 3 months Sting wrestles a singles match, something like that, that'd be pretty darn cool too.
I mean, if we're gonna see Sting wrestle now, is he married to Darby Allin? Is that the thing? He's just.
I don't think so, Mark. But I honestly I think Sting being paired with Darby Allin, even for this long, is kind of a really, really a good thing.
I like it. No, I'm not. There's nothing against it, and I think that they work really well together. They're perfect together, actually. But like anytime we see Sting, it's Darby's involved. Let's take away Sting jumping off of shit, and if we want to take a risk with Sting, let's risk him taking a flat back bump every once in a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a fair argument. That's certainly part of it. Where I think, but I'm certainly not under the impression that Sting's got to do a high risk maneuver every time he wrestles.
I don't know. I think probably not you, but I think that now a lot of the fans are conditioned like, oh shit, Sting and Darby are taking on whoever the Hardy Boys. I bet Sting's gonna do a fucking elbow drop off the rafters,
Darby,
off the top of the building.
And Darby's just known to do that kind of stuff anyway, so it's like,
right. And you fuck yourself when you do that shit, because what happens if you come in one night and you're sick or your back hurts or whatever, and you're like, I can go perform, but I'm not jumping off that shit. Then it's the old Ric Flair thing where Rick is like, yeah, I had similar matches all the time, but that was because when I would go to a wrestling event as a kid and Ray Stevens wouldn't do all of his signature shit, I'd be upset about it. So like now it's becoming Sting's signature shit.
I
don't
think
know.
people are aware that Sting is in his 60s. So I don't think that I think that kind of cancels out the expectation of hey, he's gonna fucking dive off something or like do something fucking crazy. Yeah, I don't think that's hey, speaking of crazy, Mark, how about MJF's next potential challenger for Wardlow? You have to see that.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
Mhm.
Yeah, Big Cass, W Morrissey as he's now known. Love the guy. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great talent. He's got an irreplaceable look. He checks every single box. So it's like, yeah, let's have some fun. If like this is the kind of shit that I think is fun in wrestling. And by the way, it's a sustainable way to continue to do the surprises that Tony Khan loves so much. Where okay, I'm not bringing this motherfucker in on a contract. I'm bringing somebody in on a one night thing. They did it with Hoovy, right?
Jeff
They
Cobb,
they did it with Jeff Cobb. They did it with Nick Gage.
Eugene
Um,
Nagata.
Eugene Agata. So like that's a fun way. Like if it's up to me, this could go on for 3 months, and every week he's bringing in somebody. Like it's like a hired gun. He's bringing in somebody new to try to stop Wardlow. So like it could be W Morrissey, it could be like whatever, whoever, Matt
Dude, how
Cardona.
sweet would it be if you got now? The only thing is like the great thing about how sweet would it be if Hammerstone showed up and
Oh,
fucking
it would be
it would be
sick.
awesome. The only thing you'd have to try to figure out like he's the world champ of MLW, so like and Hammerstone's a fucking beast. So it's like you don't want to. He's not taking a pin. Like you can't have him lose.
No, you'd have to get creative with the finish.
Yeah.
But Charlie, he said Lawler still wrestles. Yeah. Would it like how fun would it be? Like, hey, let's Jerry Lawler, a savvy veteran, is going to come in and try to unseat Wardlow. Although I don't know if you could do the
No,
Symphony of Power bombs.
they're talking about back what we were talking about Sting still wrestling. Like that
Oh,
shit was
okay.
concerned with Jerry Lawler. So
How hilarious would it be?
yeah,
Lawler taking the Powerbomb Symphony. I don't know
he's
if that would be great.
uh,
It would be a good way to use Brian Cage, and by the way, it'd be a great way to debut the Mortis gimmick if they would decide to go that route. Um, there's a ton of options, man. There's that dude who wrestles, Mike Jackson. He wrestles with NWA. He used to wrestle back in the '80s. It would just be fun to bring these fucking people in to try to like unseat Wardlow. I think
but
it'd be a
like
blast.
it's got to make sense. You're not going to bring in Mike Jackson, who's like 72,
Why?
coming in
It
and fucking
might be fun.
Mark.
Probably be a lot of fun.
I think W Morrissey, like he's a great baby face in Impact. Like that's going to be an issue here, unless they play into that. Like the thing that I'm kind of not looking. I love Morrissey. I love him, and I think he should be like the Impact's world champ right now. I think he should be. He should be a champion in any promotion that he's working for. Honestly, um, so like I don't want to see AEW position him in the light of being a heel because right now on Impact he's clearly a baby face. So like maybe he comes in because he wants to prove something against Wardlow. I don't even want him to lose. I don't want him to lose because like I want Impact to protect their talent. And this W Morrissey is somebody that's been very white hot, I think, for them. And he cut such a babyface promo in Philadelphia, where like that's where he like had a huge substance abuse situation where like he got taken out of the ambulance, he collapsed, and then he came back at Impact, cut this like honest and big time babyface promo to kick off the show that perpetuated a feud between him, Matt Cardona, and Brian Myers, who are now heels, like a great heel faction now. So they really set everything up. So a reason I don't want to see Morrissey kind of be positioned as a heel because it just pushes back at what Impact is doing right now. And I know, like, it's sure, more eyes are on AEW than Impact, but still, like, from, the wrestling nerd slash purist slash like continuity standpoint, you want to see everything make sense. If that forbidden door is open, we got to make sure that baby swings both ways. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well,
But
And
I'm
by the way,
excited for it.
Nesha just mentioned NWA had a 72-year-old guy wrestle the other day. That's Mike Jackson.
That's Mike Jackson.
And that's
Shimona. Yeah.
it's not that Mike Jackson. This guy used to be an enhancement talent back in the old NWA days, back in the 80s. So he wrestled guys like Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and now he's still working, which is nothing short of incredible.
Marcus, get George South versus Mike Jackson on AEW Dynamite.
There you go. Let's get it. Book it. Dom, we have to wrap this thing up. I just got something pretty crazy happen to me. A work thing. So yeah, might have to wrap this some bitch up.
Let's wrap it up. Let me try to think. I don't want to. I know we probably are missing something pretty key though. Okay. This will be how we close it. The Jericho Appreciation Society. Eddie Kingston got fireball to the face. That was a great promo. Great segment between him and Jericho. How about that shit?
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. The Jericho Appreciation Society has got heat with me. So I like it. You know, I watch it as a fan. I'm like, God, these guys are fucking annoying.
I think that's the point.
Well, yeah, and so when I take my fan hat off and I put on my analyst hat, I'm like, it's smart. They're making me as a fan get annoyed, which means that I want to see them lose. So yeah, they're doing their jobs. The Kingston and the Fireball. We're talking about Jerry Lawler. That's some old school Lawler.
Some Terry Funk shit right there.
Some Terry Funk shit. Some Warrior Hogan Flash paper stuff.
No. Bump the brakes.
A lot of fire talk on this episode. But yeah, it was a pretty cool, unique spot. Something that doesn't get used as much anymore.
No. Eddie talking about like he smells the fear on Jericho, and Jericho's his face.
He may have oversold it a little bit.
But it's wrestling.
It was like very Jim Carrey acting.
But then he fires back. Like him on Dynamite was great because he was still keeping with it. That's what's great about Jericho. I'm telling you what, folks, if you are sick of Chris Jericho, you're gonna miss him once he's gone. You're gonna miss him because like he adds so much to it. He can play any kind of role you want. He can talk on commentary. He's a fucking blast. All right. Like appreciate Jericho while we still got him at the run he's on. So
and he's in the best shape ever. So
right.
Love this version of Jericho. As an analyst, as a fan, he's annoying me. So he's doing his job. So it's I think things are going well there. Dom, what do you
got? You can see I am shaved. My mustache is shaved. My head is shaved. I am looking like Billy Graham when he returned as the Kung Fu Man. Hey, 45 years ago today, Billy Graham won the WWF title against Bruno Sammartino. I wrote about that today on Ad-Free Shows, This Day in History. Wrestling with History. Every day you get a little bit of something. If you are the low subscriber on adfreeshows.com.
Which is only, by the way, $9.99 per month.
That's right. So I have that kicking. Stay tuned for my Lash LaRue interview coming up. I'm very excited to get that baby cooking and everything like that. As far as interviews go, I'm trying to think what we have on.
Hang on, Nesha. You say you see Super Mario Brothers. Go look up Kung Fu Billy Graham real quick, and you'll see Dom actually bears a striking resemblance. Aside from not being anywhere near as muscular. Go ahead, Dom.
That's right. Or have as much charisma.
Right.
Either way, hey, check out WrestleZone.com. We're doing some good stuff over there. As far as anything else goes, just hey, you know what? Give us a little likes on the fucking iTunes, Spotify. Just go to WrestleZone, subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review. I'm gonna get our actual feed kicking too for Two Dynamite Dudes, its own feed. So be on the lookout for that. I'll try to plug that heavy too. So if you guys can give us ratings once I get that cooking again, do that. Hey, there's going to be a little bit of a change coming up next week. I haven't even told Marcus about it. There's a little bit of a change. Nothing extreme, but I just have an idea. It's just going to be something a little different.
Oh, wow. Ordinarily, you run these ideas past me before you announce that we're making a change, but I guess we're not doing that this time. So,
yeah,
all right, there will be a change next week.
I have less respect for you since you have just bailed on me several times. So,
oh my
plus
God.
you insult my mustache.
It's a fine mustache.
Thank you. This has
All
been
right.
a fun show.
A fine show. Good to see everybody's 2 weeks of Marcus. Oh yeah. Hopefully I'll be back next week. We'll see how things are going. But until then, folks.
What was that?
until then. No, I'm sure I'll be back. Until then, though, we will see you guys next week right here on Dynamite Dudes on a Rampage. Adios.
See you guys.